Chapter 5. How the legal and commerce system drain your energy. In the Western legal system, when you go to court for a trial, you are not really going to court but are going to a game arena where they are planning to con you using wordplay, legal words, and word tricks. Where do you go when you want to play basketball, volleyball, or tennis with your friends? You go to a basketball, volleyball, or tennis court. Therefore, a court is where you go to when you want to play a game. They did not name the place where you go to trial a courtroom by accident. This is why the judge is sometimes referred to as the administrator. The judge is there to administer or manage the rules of the game in the court, game arena, which is why the judge sits behind a bench. The word bench is defined as a seat occupied by an official, especially a judge, or the seat on which the players of a team sit during a game while not playing. Another role of the judge is to act as a banker, because he or she is administering a commercial court. It is about commerce and not justice. One of the words judges and attorneys like to use to trick you to give up your natural rights in court is contract. The word contract originated from the Old French word contract and the Latin word contractus, meaning a contract, agreement. Contract is a very powerful tool for the reason that it can be used to trick you to give up some of the power of your free will. It can also be used to bind you to certain terms and conditions, and therefore limiting your choices and demanding you to do something to satisfy those terms and conditions. Most of us know that a contract is an agreement between at least two parties. This definition of contract only shows you the overt meaning. To find the covert or occult meaning of the word contract, you need to look below its surface, dissect its layers, find its origins, and look at it from many different angles. This means that you may need to use an etymology dictionary to find the origins of the word contract, and split and rearrange its letters using the art of anagram. One of the first steps to finding the deeper meaning of the word contract is to separate it into two words. When you split the word contract into two words, you get the term contract. As a verb, the word con is defined as to swindle, trick. As a noun, the word tract is defined as a brief treatise or pamphlet for general distribution, usually on a religious or political topic. When you put the definition of the words con and tract together, it translates into a deceptive treatise or a treatise of trickery. This is one of the deeper meanings of the word contract. Every time you sign a contract with a corporation, e.g., bank and government agency, you agree to a deceptive treatise. The good news is that nearly all contracts you made with corporations and government agencies are fraudulent, because they do not come with full disclosure. For a contract to be valid, it needs to have an agreement with mutual understanding, competent parties, and full disclosure of material facts. Another word judges and attorneys like to use to deceive you in court is the word understand. When you go to court and the judge asks you the question, do you understand the charges? You should think twice before answering the question. If you were to answer yes, you would basically admit to the court that it has jurisdiction over you. When you split the word understand into two words, you get the term understand. To find the occult meaning of the term understand, you need to switch the words under and stand around. When you do this, the phrase understand becomes stand under. By saying to the judge that you understand the charges, you are also telling the judge that you stand under the charges. One of the most common words they like to use to trick you in court is the word person. The word person is a general word for the reason that it can mean a legal person, a natural person, a corporation, a name, or any fictitious entity. Most of the time when the judge asks you for your name, he is asking for your legal name, which is a legal person. A legal person can also be a corporation. A corporation is a corporation or corpso-ration. The plural form of the word corporation can be written as cor. Phonetically, the word cor sounds similar to the word corpse, which is defined as a dead body, usually of a human being. The legal system sees you as a corpse to be used as a ration to feed the matrix of the dark forces. Hence, the word corporation, corpo-ration, corpso-ration. Do you remember what I said in Chapter 2 about why the government sees you as a legally dead person? Because you are considered lost at sea or dead at sea. Another very important thing you need to know about the legal system is that nearly all of its courts are operating under Admiralty, maritime law. These courts deal with fictional characters, e.g., legal person and corporation, which is why the laws of these courts are called acts and statutes. As a verb, the word act is defined as to perform as an actor. The so-called authorities of the court system are actors acting in a play known as the legal system. Whether they realize it or not, they are still just actors playing a game to con you. Even though it is just a game, it is a very serious game because you could end up in jail. The court and legal system have to operate as a game, because they are dealing with fictional things. Because of this, when you get a summons letter to appear in court, the court is not summoning you, the body made of flesh and blood. Instead, it is summoning the legal person or the legal name, which is the fictitious entity used by the government to do business with you. The legal person, legal name, corporation is a fictitious entity, because it only exists on paper and in our minds, just like the government. However, if you agree to act in the capacity of the legal person, you basically are telling the court that you want to be in the play game called the legal system. This is why the legal system is all based on presumption when it is dealing with the government and the legal person. When you are in court, you are not just in a game arena to play legal games, but are also in a room to play magic games. This is why the judge is also called the magistrate, and the letter that the court used to notify you to appear in court is called a summons. What do witches do when they want to call spirits to appear in front of them? They summon them. They did not call this letter a summons for no reason. Do you need more evidence that courtrooms are places for casting magic spells? Read further and I will show you all the evidence you need. Have you ever wondered why nearly all court documents have seals on them? The reason why they have seals is because seals are sigils used for real magic rituals. Have you also ever wondered why a judge is called a magistrate? Judges are magistrates because they are religious priests dressed in a black robe. In legal terms, the word magistrate is defined as any individual who has the power of a public civil officer or inferior judicial officer, such as a justice of the peace. Magistrate can also be defined as a civil officer charged with the administration of the law. Phonetically, the word magistrate sounds very similar to magistrate or magi-strate. One of the origins of the word magi is the Latin word magi plural of magus, meaning magician, learned magician. As for the word strait, it means a narrow passage of water connecting two large bodies of water. The word strait has a strong connection to the word canal. Do you remember what I said in chapter 2 about the relation between the birth canal and the birth canal? Sometimes you have to pay attention to the phonics of a word to find its hidden meanings. Because judges are magistrates, their hidden role is to administer your body, ship, vessel to port and cast magic spells on you. One important thing you should know about the word magistrate is that it is also used to describe presidents and governors. The President of the United States is the chief magistrate of this nation. The governors are the chief magistrates of their respective states. At the deeper level, a courtroom of the legal system is like a shiproom storage space on a ship. It is a shiproom because nearly every court of the legal system is operating under Admiralty law, the law of the sea. The body, vessel, product in the courtroom, shiproom is you. The legal system sees you as a product and not a living person, which is why there is little or no justice in nearly every court throughout most Western countries and many Eastern countries. Courts are also banks, which is why they have benches and bars. One of the origins of the word bench is derived from the Old High German word bank, meaning bench. In English, the word bank can mean a few different things. One of its meanings is an institution for receiving, lending, exchanging, and safeguarding money and, in some cases, issuing notes and transacting other financial business. The word bank can also mean a bench for rowers in a galley or a row or tier of oars or the sloping side of any hollow in the ground when bordering a river. Hence, the word riverbank. The word galley is defined as a seagoing vessel propelled mainly by oars, used in ancient and medieval times, sometimes with the aid of sails. Back in the old days, galleys were often rowed by slaves or convicts. Do you remember what I said in chapter 2 about the relation between the word ore and the word ore? In chapter 2, I said that the word ore means a metal-bearing mineral or rock. I also said that it sounds similar to the word oar, which is a long shaft with a broad blade at one end, used as a lever for rowing or otherwise propelling or steering a boat. Be aware that most of the words in bold font in the previous 5 paragraphs are somehow related to water. Why water? Because it has to do with Admiralty law, the law of the sea, and commerce. Even the word font is related to water. The word font means a receptacle for baptismal water. I can go on for pages about how all these words are related to water, but I think you should get the point by now. In one of the previous paragraphs, I said that galleys were often rowed by slaves or convicts. The word convict is often used in the legal system to identify people who have been found guilty of a crime and is serving a sentence in prison. What most of us do not know about the word convict is that there is a deeper meaning to this word. Its deeper meaning is used by the dark forces and their minions to mock people who are in prison or are serving a sentence in prison. Most of us are aware of the overt definition of the word convict, which is a person proved or declared guilty of an offense. This definition only defines the word convict at the surface level. To find the deeper meaning of the word convict, you need to split it into two words, convict, and then switch them around. When you do this, the words transform into vict con. The prefix vict is derived from the Latin root word vict, meaning conquer. It is related to the root word vinc. This is where we get the word victim from. The definition of the word victim is a person who is deceived or cheated, as by his or her own emotions or ignorance, by the dishonesty of others, or by some impersonal agency, or a person or animal sacrificed or regarded as sacrificed. To connect the dots, a convict, vict con is a victim of a con who has been conquered, deceived, and sacrificed due to his or her ignorance. This is the covert or occult definition of the word convict. So, what is the con? The con is the legal system. Convicts are victims of the con known as the legal system, which is a system created by the minions of the dark forces to con people to give their natural rights and spiritual powers away to the dead. The legal system is a big fat fraud, because it is based on presumption and is run by a bunch of criminals who are using it to con people to pay them money. Most convicts are not really criminals for the reason that they have been conned by the real criminals, which are the people in charge of the legal system. The real criminals mock the victims of their legal system by calling them convicts. Let us turn our attention back to the court and legal system. In a courtroom there is a section called a bar. Here is an excerpt from wikipedia.org explaining what a bar is. The origin of the term bar is from the barring furniture dividing a medieval European courtroom, similar to the origin of the term bank for the bench-like location of financial transactions in medieval Europe. In the USA, Europe and many other countries referring to the law traditions of Europe, the area in front of the barrage is restricted to participants in the trial, the judge or judges, other court officials, the jury if any, the lawyers for each party, the parties to the case, and witnesses giving testimony. The area behind the bar is open to the public. This restriction is enforced in nearly all courts. In most courts, the bar is represented by a physical partition, a railing or barrier that serves as a bar. As a defendant or plaintiff, you are required to stay behind the bar, a barrier or bar rear of the courtroom. Only attorneys, judges, and certain court officials are allowed to go past the bar. Why is that, you may ask? Because the court sees you as a prisoner. Where do they lock up prisoners? In a jail or prison cell. What is a jail or prison cell made of? Iron or steel bars and barred doors. Nearly all courts operating under the Western legal systems are Admiralty courts enforcing military laws. And therefore, when you go to court, you are treated as a war criminal. This is why you have to stay behind the bar in a courtroom. It is right in your face and hidden in plain sight. Another definition of the word bar is an ingot, lump, or wedge of gold or silver. This definition shows another relation between the words court and bank. The word bar can also mean a counter or place where beverages, especially liquors, or light meals are served to customers. Have you ever heard someone say, "Let's go drink at the bar"? One of the words that you should pay attention to in the previous paragraph is the word liquor. The word liquor is derived from the Old French word liquor, meaning fluid, liquid, sap, oil. It is also derived from the Latin word liquorum, nominative liquor, meaning liquidity, fluidity, or a liquid, the sea. The English dictionary defines the word liquor as a distilled or spirituous beverage, as brandy or whiskey, as distinguished from a fermented beverage, as wine or beer. Did you notice that all the words in bold font in the previous two paragraphs are also related to water or the sea? Even their definitions are related to water. By the end of this chapter, you will know why water plays such an important role in commerce. In addition, you will know why the word sea has a strong connection to the word energy. Let us focus our attention back to the hidden roles of judges. Have you ever wondered why judges wear a black robe? The black robe uniform is the symbol for representing a priest who works for the Jesuits or has a connection to the Jesuit order. The black robe uniform also represents a worshipper of the ancient god Saturn. During the ancient times, Saturn was associated with the god of law and justice. Today, many secret societies still worship Saturn as the god of law and justice. According to Jordan Maxwell, the symbol that was used in the religious context for Saturn was the square, and its symbolic color was black. This is why judges wear a black robe. It is their way of showing respect to Saturn, the god of law and justice. Whether judges realize it or not, they are religious priests who have been brainwashed by the dark forces to cast dark magic spells on people when they are in a courtroom. Do you understand now why judges wear a black robe? Besides judges, priests also wear a uniform similar to a black robe, which is known as a cassock. The word cassock is defined as a long, close-fitting garment worn by members of the clergy or others participating in church services, or an ankle-length garment, usually black, worn by priests and choristers. Whether priests realize it or not, they are acting in the capacity of witches, and therefore are working for the dark forces to enslave people at the spiritual level. Because of this, when priests are preaching the knowledge of God to people in church, they are actually casting magic spells on them. Just like how judges, magistrates cast magic spells on people in court. Because judges are religious priests, there is no separation of church and state. Furthermore, nearly all churches are incorporated and therefore they belong to the state. So, where do attorneys fit into this magic and black robe cult? Attorneys are also like witches because they are using the power of words to cast magic spells on people. However, they do not have as much power as judges. One thing you need to know about Western attorneys is that nearly all of them work for the Crown Temple, and therefore are Templar agents. One way to tell if attorneys are Templar agents is to ask them if they are a member of the Bar Association. Whether bar attorneys realize it or not, they are committing crimes in the USA, Canada, Australia, and other countries under the guise, appearance, and color of law. Bar attorneys work for the same secret organizations, the Crown of England and the Crown Temple, that tried to enslave the American people in the 1700 seconds. These two secret organizations were heavily involved in the killing of Americans during the American War of Independence. Today, the Crown of England and the Crown Temple still have the same dark agendas. Unfortunately, they have already taken over the court and political system of the USA over 100 years ago. These two secret organizations are controlled by the Vatican, which is the religious center of the dark forces. People who work for the legal system are unknowingly or knowingly abetting fraud. This system is run by a bunch of criminals working for the Crown of England, the Crown Temple, and the Vatican. Because of this, nearly all judges and bar attorneys are traitors to the human race, and therefore judges do not deserve to be called Your Honor. Even though nearly all judges and bar attorneys are traitors to the human race, there are some judges and attorneys who are working for the legal system because they want to learn how it really works, so that they can teach people how to free themselves from the vampiric system of slavery known as the legal system. By now you should know that the legal system is saturated with dark magic. You should also know why judges of the Western legal system and priests of churches are acting in the capacity of witches, which is why their hidden role is to summon people to come to their courts or chapels, so that they can cast magic spells on them. Be aware that magic can be used for good or evil purposes. Why commerce is a game of battery for draining your energy. At the deepest level, the commerce game created by the dark forces to enslave humanity is a very sick and evil game. However, if you learn how this game really works and know a good percentage of its hidden rules, you can find ways to prevent the dark forces from enslaving the human race. The main purpose of the commerce game is to con and trick you to temporarily give up your energy, natural rights, and spiritual powers. This is why before they can summon you to go to court, they need to charge you first. When it comes to the legal and commerce system, the words charge, battery, and currency play a very big role for powering the commerce game of the dark forces and keeping it alive. In legal terms, when someone gets beaten up, that person is often referred to as a victim of battery. If the victim knows who committed the crime and presses charges, the person who did the battery will be summoned to go to court to face the charges. In business, when a company outsells or outperforms its competitors, one of the common words used to describe this process is the word beat. When the suffixing is added to the word beat, it changes to the word beating. Hence, company A is beating company B in sales. The game of business or commerce is a game of battery, and therefore one business team or many business teams will eventually get beaten by the winner. Sports are also games of battery. In baseball, the combination of the pitcher and the catcher is called the battery. This can be proven by looking at one of the definitions of the word battery, which is the pitcher and catcher considered as a unit. Have you ever heard someone said batter up in baseball? Add the letter Y to the word batter in the term batter up and you get the phrase battery up. The word battery is an important word in commerce and law, because it plays an important role in the process of harnessing the energy of humanity. In other words, this is one of the many methods that the dark forces like to use to drain our living energy. After collecting our energy using magic spells, the dark magicians and their masters, the dark forces, use it to charge their corporations, corpses, or dead entities, banks, and other commerce systems so that they can keep their game of conning humanity alive. Without our energy to charge their corporations and commerce systems, Their evil game of commerce will not have enough power to stay in business. As human beings, we are being used as batteries. This is why before we go to court, they have to charge us first. During the court hearing, the judge reads the charges and then charges them off or discharges them after a verdict or judgment is made. This process is called a hearing because when you are charged with something and summoned to go to court, you are called the defendant or defendant, which is a deaf person who is a ward of the court and is about to meet his end by the judge. Hence, the word defendant, defendant. The phrase a ward of the court means an incompetent person or a person who is unable to care for himself, so the court must assume responsibility for his or her well-being. This is how the court sees you, a deaf and ignorant child who does not know the definitions of words. This is why a short meeting in a courtroom is called a hearing. The court hearing is done to test your hearing and understanding of words. If you, the defendant, defendant, agree to the charges, you basically swear an oath to give up some of your energy to the judge. Because the word ant means oath or a promise to oneself, resolution in Turkish. The judge has also swore an oath, but his oath is to the god Saturn. Remember what I said earlier, why judges wear a black robe. It is their way of paying respect to the god Saturn, the god of law and justice. Another symbol used as a religious context for Saturn is the black square. The black square can also be found in the teachings of Islam. Have you ever heard of the sacred black cube in Mecca called the Kaaba? This sacred black cube that Muslims pilgrimage to represents the god Saturn. The black mortarboard graduation hat that high school and college students wear when they graduate also symbolizes the god Saturn. Saturn was and is still such an important god that today we dedicated a day for Saturn, which is known as Saturn Day or Saturday. It is right in your face. Saturn is also known as the Lord of the Ring. When people get married today, they use the ring as a symbol for their marriage. What they do not realize is that the ring also symbolizes the god Saturn. This is the origin of the ring ritual that people do when they get married. What you need to know about rituals is that they have energetic binding forces attached to them. These binding forces are not dependent upon personal knowledge or beliefs. By simply taking the action to perform the religious ring ritual, you consent to whatever the ring ritual is designed to do. During the ancient times, Saturn was also known as El, the Hebrew word for God. In the Hebrew Bible there are 4 words translated God: El, Ilah, Elah, Elohim. The oldest Semitic word meaning God is El. Linguists believe its base meaning is strength or power. El is the strong one, or the deity God. When translating names that contain the segment Al-El, it usually refers to Elohim Elohim. That is Elohim, or God, also known as Al-Elo. One thing you should know about the 4 Hebrew words for God, i.e. El, Allah, Allah, and Elohim, is that they have a strong connection to the name of the Islam god called Allah. Saturn, being El, was under the domination of Egypt. That whole area had its philosophies, ideas, and its people being dominated by Egypt. So Isis was the first main divinity. Now, with the coming of Akhenaten, the worship was then changed to the worship of Amen-Ra, the sun. This is where we get sun ray from Amen-Ra. Amen-Ra was worshipped in the temples as God's sun. At the end of the service, they would say Amen, because they were sending a prayer to God through Amen-Ra, God's sun. So they would say Amen when they sent the prayer through God's sun. The ancient Egyptians said nobody had seen God, and perhaps there is nobody who is ever going to see God. But when you have seen the Son, you have seen the Father. And when you pray to the Father, you pray directly to the Father, but you send your prayer through God's Son, Amen-Ra. So at the end of the prayer you say, Amen. Today, after Christians pray to God, they say Amen. What Christians do not realize is that when they say Amen, they agree to pray to and acknowledge the ancient god Ra. Another thing most Christians do not realize is that their religion is filled with pagan beliefs. Furthermore, they do not know that their religion has many similarities to Islam. The content in the previous few paragraphs is evidence of this. Islam is just another version of Christianity. Let us focus our attention back to the court hearing process. During a court trial, when the defendant loses the case, the judge will often order the defendant to pay the court and plaintiff with currency. The word order is defined as a command of a court or judge. It can also mean a command or notice issued by a military organization or a military commander to troops, sailors, etc. Do you remember what I said earlier about why courts operating under the Western legal system are military courts? They are military courts because they fall under the jurisdiction of the law of the sea, Admiralty law. As for the word currency, its hidden definition is the flow of energy. This is why the stored energy in a battery is called electric current, or the currency of electricity. The word currency originated from the Latin word currens, the present participle of currere, which means to run. Now, why would they base the word currency on a Latin word that does not have much to do with paper money or coin? Because it is not really about the paper money or coin. Instead, it is about harnessing the energy of humanity. To find out why currency has a strong relation to energy, you need to know the occult meanings of the word currency. To do this, you need to use phonetics and separate the word currency into two words. When spoken out loud, the word currency sounds similar to the term currency. What does a current do in a river? It flows or runs to the sea. Keep in mind that the Latin word currens means to run. The word current can also mean a flowing, flow, as of a river or something that flows, as a stream. The flowing movement of currents is what causes the fresh water in the river to flow to the sea. Once the fresh water is in the sea, its current is now part of the currency or the current of the sea. Hence, the word currency, currency. It is important to know that seawater has a lot of salt, and therefore it conducts electricity better than fresh water. In other words, as a medium, seawater is better at transferring energy. Hence, the word electrolyte or electrolyte. Light is energy. The word electrolyte is defined as any substance that dissociates into ions when dissolved in a suitable medium, or melted, and thus forms a conductor of electricity. Seawater is saturated with electrolyte, just like human blood. Therefore, seawater is the blood of earth. The word currency also sounds similar to the term current kai. In Chinese, the word kai, also known as kai, means natural energy, life force, or energy flow. Be aware that the Chinese word kai is pronounced somewhat similar to the English word si. Based on these occult definitions, currency means the flow of life force energy. When you really think about it, currency is a medium for exchanging or transferring life force energy, which is why the dark forces are obsessed with using currency to drain your life force energy. One important thing you need to know about the word sea is that it is heavily connected to Admiralty law, the law of the sea. When judges and attorneys talk about the word sea in Admiralty law, whether they realize it or not, they are not always talking about water. At the deeper level, they are talking about life force energy. This becomes clear when you know that water carries the current kai, which is the life force energy needed to charge the dead matrix of the dark forces and their corpses. The life force energy in water is why water is essential for life to exist in the universe. Currency is also a medium used by corporations to pay their employees. One of the definitions of the word currency is something that is used as a medium of exchange. Money. The word medium means an intervening substance through which something else is transmitted or carried on. It is important to know that the plural form of the word medium means a person thought to have the power to communicate with the spirits of the dead or with agents of another world or dimension, also called psychic. In other words, current kai is a medium used by the dark magicians to communicate with and transfer life force energy to the dead, the dark forces, which are groups of demons. The information in the previous paragraph becomes even more clear when you study the occult definitions of the word cryptocurrency. To find the occult meanings of the word cryptocurrency, you need to split it into two words, cryptocurrency, and study their hidden definitions. The word crypto originated from the Greek word kryptos, meaning hidden, concealed, secret. As for the origin of the word currency, it is derived from the Latin word currens. When translated into English, it means to run. The information in the previous paragraph does not tell you the deeper occult meanings of the word cryptocurrency. Therefore, you need to dissect the word even further, so that it becomes the word crypt. One of the origins of the word crypt is derived from the Latin word crypta, meaning vault, cavern. Another definition of the word crypt is a subterranean chamber or vault, especially one beneath the main floor of a church, used as a burial place, a location for secret meetings, etc. In other words, it is a place to bury the dead. When you put all the occult definitions of the word cryptocurrency and the word currency together, you should come to the conclusion that cryptocurrency is the hidden digital currency that the dark magicians want to use to control the global economy and drain humanity's life force energy, so that they can feed this life force energy to the dead, the dark forces. Hence, the word cryptocurrency. In other words, the words crypto hidden vault for the dead and currency flow of energy can be translated as the hidden vault or chamber for storing energy for the dead or flowing energy to the dead. The good news is that if we can prevent the dark magicians from controlling cryptocurrency and learn how to use it in harmony with nature, Cryptocurrency can be an effective financial transaction tool to use for exchanging goods and services. One very important thing you need to know about currency is that it is the dark magician's favorite economic tool to use for draining your energy and using it to charge the dead. The free manual Silent Weapons for Quiet Wars does a great job of explaining the relation between energy and economics. Here are some paragraphs extracted from this manual about energy and economics. Energy is recognized as the key to all activity on Earth. Natural science is the study of the sources and control of natural energy. And social science, theoretically expressed as economics, is the study of the sources and control of social energy. Both are bookkeeping systems, mathematics. Therefore, mathematics is the primary energy science, and the bookkeeper can be king if the public can be kept ignorant of the methodology of the bookkeeping. All of the mathematical theory developed in the study of one energy system, e.g., mechanics, electronics, etc., can be immediately applied in the study of any other energy system, e.g., economics. Mr. Rothschild had discovered that currency or deposit loan accounts had the required appearance of power that could be used to induce people inductance, with people corresponding to a magnetic field into surrendering their real wealth in exchange for a promise of greater wealth instead of real compensation. They would put up real collateral in exchange for a loan of promissory notes. Mr. Rothschild found that he could issue more notes than he had backing for, so long as he had someone's stock of gold as a persuader to show his customers. Mr. Rothschild loaned his promissory notes to individuals and to governments. These would create overconfidence. Then he would make money scarce, tighten control of the system, and collect the collateral through the obligation of contracts. The cycle was then repeated. These pressures could be used to ignite a war, and he would control the availability of currency to determine who would win the war. In this structure, credit, presented as a pure element called currency, has the appearance of capital, but is in effect negative capital. Hence, it has the appearance of service, but is in fact indebtedness or debt. It is therefore an economic inductance instead of an economic capacitance, and if balanced in no other way, will be balanced by the negation of population, war, genocide. The total goods and services represent real capital called the gross national product, and currency may be printed up to this level and still represent economic capacitance. But currency printed beyond this level is subtractive, represents the introduction of economic inductance, and constitutes notes of indebtedness. War is therefore the balancing of the system by killing the true creditors, the public, which we have taught to exchange true value for inflated currency, and falling back on whatever is left of the resources of nature, and regeneration of those resources. Economics is only a social extension of a natural energy system. It also has its three passive components, because of the distribution of wealth and the lack of communication and lack of data. This field has been the last energy field for which a knowledge of these three passive components has been developed. In simple terms, the previous paragraphs and block quotation are basically telling you that currency can be used to steal the people's energy and time. It is important to know that paper or digital currency can be used for good or evil purposes. Unfortunately, the dark forces and their minions are in control of the global financial system, and therefore if they were to succeed at using digital currency to totally control the global economy, the human race would suffer greatly for many years. Because cryptocurrency is a digital currency, it can be used to totally enslave us in the matrix. This matrix is an artificial computer-generated hologram that is managed by a very advanced quantum computing system. This artificial holographic matrix was created by the dark forces and their minions to enslave us. In other words, the matrix is the hell on earth. Many people are worried that if they do not do good deeds and join a religion, they may go to hell after they die. What they do not know is that they are already living in hell. It is called the Matrix, which is the land of the dead. To comprehend how the Matrix was created, you need to know what the universe is made of. At the deepest level of the external reality, everything is energy and consciousness. When I say external reality, I am talking about the reality outside of the fabric of space. The realm behind the fabric of space is known by today's scientists as dark energy. Ancient civilizations referred to it as the ether. In certain occult teachings, the ether is known as the fifth element. In Sanskrit it is called akasha, which is the essence of all things in the material world. After the ether, The next level of the external reality is made of crystallizations of frozen light. Some spiritual teachings refer to them as Keylons. When these Keylons are grouped together in grid-like patterns, they form the morphogenetic field crystal body. Morphogenetic field is an invisible and living thought form field that functions as the blueprint or template upon which matter is manifested. It is also a field that allows consciousness to create structure so that it can experience itself. To make it easier for you to understand, imagine that Keylons are like light bulbs. When these Keylons, light bulbs, are charged with energy, they light up in certain ways, creating light patterns. These are the energy or light codes of the universe. These light codes work similar to quantum computer codes or qubits. Your perception of reality is created when your body and mind process these light codes and project them as encoded light into the external world. This all occurs at the subconscious level. At the conscious level, you see these encoded light as matter. The dark forces are well aware of how Keylons work. Because of this, they were able to create artificial quantum computer codes and manipulate our bodies and minds to process these artificial codes. This process allows them to hijack our natural reality to a certain degree. It also allows them to plug our DNA into their matrix, and therefore enslaving our minds inside a quantum computer-generated reality. The purpose for plugging our DNA into their matrix is to enslave our minds, so that they can use us as batteries. The dark forces need to feed on our life force energy to survive, because they have been cut off from the eternal life current of the Supreme Creator. This is why they like to order their minions to engineer wars. Wars create a lot of fear energy for the dark forces to feed on. They love the energy of fear because it gives them a high of lust, similar to the high feeling that drug addicts experience when they do drugs. Because the demons of the dark forces are the dead entities that need to feed on humanity's life force energy to survive. They are astral parasites or energy vampires. They are energy vampires for the reason that they need to feed on the energy of humanity to survive. And they need our permission before they can do anything to us. This is where the idea of vampires comes from. The human DNA works similar to an antenna, and the planets and stars are like radio stations that send out signals or electromagnetic waves. These signals contain the codes of reality for the reason that they have energy codes information in them. When these signals reach our bodies, they are processed by our minds and bodies in a way that allows our DNA to use the information to project the right frequencies of light energy into the external world. This process literally creates our perception of reality and material world. This is possible because matter is a projection of energy. In other words, the material world is a giant hologram. Here is an excerpt from my book Paradigm 2nd edition that explains this process further. To help simplify how our external reality is constructed through holographic projections of energy, let us turn our attention to how a movie projector works. A movie projector basically works by continuously moving films along a path between a light source and a lens, causing a light effect that projects the image inside the films onto a screen. The movie projector can be metaphorically referred to as the observer's consciousness, and the light can be associated with energy. Each film can be metaphorically referred to as a point in time. The lens acts like DNA, and the screen upon which the illusion is projected on is like the unified field from which all matter is manifested. When the film is not moving, everything is still, and therefore there is no time or linear action. Once the projector is turned on and the film starts moving, there are movements on the screen, causing an illusion of linear actions and time. The illusion that is projected onto the screen unified field is caused by the light energy as it travels through the lens DNA, causing it to project outward into the external world. The illusions that are projected can be likened to an observer's experiences. Some important things you need to know about time are that it does not move and is not truly linear. Linear time is only achieved when an observer's consciousness moves through portions of the unified field of time. When an observer's consciousness does not move through this unified field, time is simultaneous. To trap us in their matrix, the dark forces and their minions created very advanced holographic technology to intercept some of the natural signals of our planets and sun, so that they can replace some of these signals with their artificial quantum computer codes. These computer codes are the codes of their matrix. When the dark forces use their holographic technology and quantum computers to broadcast the computer codes of the matrix to Earth, these codes are received by our DNA, and then our DNA processes the codes and projects the information as encoded light into the external world. This process alters our natural holographic reality, allowing the dark forces to create a reality that they want. The matrix used by the dark forces to overlay Earth's natural reality is one of their greatest technologies for enslaving our minds and souls. The matrix is very effective for enslaving us, because it looks very similar to the natural reality of Earth. And therefore most people have no idea that they live in a matrix reality, which is an artificial hologram. Unlike the Matrix, our natural reality and the universe are made of crystallizations of frozen light, which are energy codes. Is there evidence that the universe is made of energy codes? To find one of the evidence, you need to study the work of theoretical physicist Dr. James Gates Jr. Recently, he found evidence of computer codes in the fabric of space. Working on a branch of physics called supersymmetry, Dr. James Gates Jr. discovered what he describes as the presence of what appear to resemble a form of computer code, called error-correcting codes, embedded within, or resulting from, the equations of supersymmetry that describe fundamental particles. He called these codes adinkras, one of the tools that the dark forces like to use to prevent us from deleting the digital codes of their matrix and replacing them with the natural energy codes of the universe's language. Other tools they like to use to prevent us from rising above their matrix are religion and the media. By using religion and the media to condition us how to think, they can control our thought patterns to a large degree. This allows them to create a reality that they want. If you know that the human collective thought is what creates the human reality on Earth, then you should know why the dark forces want to control how we think. Reality is thought construction, and therefore when we, the human race, collectively think in certain ways, our thoughts, beliefs, and actions shape and define what our reality will look like. This is possible because matter is an illusion and is focused into existence by the power of thought. As a collective, we are literally creating the reality of Earth. We are not aware of this thought manifestation process because it occurs in our subconscious minds. The language, media, education, and religious system are four of the main tools that the dark forces like to use to hijack our reality. The political, technology, and energy system are also three other important tools that they like to use to manipulate and control our reality. It is important to know that these tools are not evil, but are being used for evil purposes. It is also important to know that everyone living on Earth has been physically and spiritually enslaved by the dark forces. This is why Earth is called a prison planet. The dark forces are well aware of how the universe works. This is because they understand the language of the universe and know how sacred geometry works. The language of the universe is based on frequency, light, sound, vibration, and sacred geometry. It is a very powerful communication and information system. In the wrong hands, a certain percentage of this language system can be used to control us and hijack our reality. However, it can also be used to free us from the matrix of the dark forces. The movie The Matrix was created by the dark magicians and their minions to mock us and tell us that we have been enslaved by their masters, the dark forces. Unfortunately, most of us are too brainwashed, ignorant, and spiritually brain dead to realize this. To learn more about the matrix of the dark forces, download or view my free seminar titled The Matrix Decoded, Decoding the Occult Messages in the Matrix and Study the Information in It. This seminar teaches you how to free your mind and soul from the real matrix. Let us focus our attention back to the relation between corporation and currency. When you go to work at a corporation, the corporation often pays you hourly. Every hour is recorded to make sure that you are paid for investing your time and energy into the company. After you have worked for a certain amount of time, you are given a weekly or bi-weekly paycheck, usually on Friday. Once you take your paycheck to the bank to cash it for currency, the currency now represents your time and energy. One important thing you need to know about the words bank and currency is that they are related to the word river. What does a river have on its two sides to prevent water from flowing out of it? Riverbanks. Corporate banks are like rivers because they regulate currency. In other words, they regulate the flow of energy, just like how riverbanks regulate the flow of the energy of water. They did not combine the word river and the word banks to make the word riverbanks by accident. To understand how currency is used to drain your energy at a deeper level, you need to know certain occult definitions of the word commerce. The word commerce is defined as an interchange of goods or commodities, especially on a large scale between different countries, foreign commerce, or between different parts of the same country, domestic commerce, trade, business. It can also mean sexual intercourse or intellectual or spiritual interchange, communion. To find the deeper meanings of the word commerce, you need to know its origins. One of the origins of the word commerce is the Latin word commercium, meaning trade, trafficking. The word trafficking is defined as the movement of vehicles, ships, persons, etc. in an area, along a street, through an air lane, over a water route, etc. Therefore, This word has a strong connection to water and ships. Remember what I said in the beginning of this book about how your body is related to ship and water. In legal terms, the word trafficking means the carrying on of an illegal commercial activity such as selling drugs or substances that are banned. Because one of the definitions of the word commerce is sexual intercourse, and the word commerce is related to trafficking. When people participate in commerce, they are in a sense selling their bodies for sex. In other words, they are the horse of Babylon. The commerce system that creates death and exploits nature is the dark forces' favorite way of trafficking human beings and tricking us to commit adultery, so that they can turn us into human batteries. It is their way of tricking us to commit sin and treason against humanity and nature, and offend the Supreme Creator. Hence, the Bible verse Romans 6:23. For the wages of sin is death. Sin is debt, death. One of the many systems that is a part of the commerce system is the stock market. This vampiric financial system is rigged and commits illegal and unlawful commercial activities on a daily basis. Every day, people are losing their money in the stock market and therefore are being screwed by the commerce system. Two slang definitions of the word screw, chiefly British, are an old broken down horse and salary. Wages. In American English, the slang definition of the verb version of the word screw means to practice extortion, to engage in promiscuous sex, or to have coitus. The word coitus means sexual intercourse. The definitions of the words in bold font in this paragraph and the previous few paragraphs show how the commerce and stock market system are related to sex, money, and horse. The commerce system is full of sexual symbolism, because the dark forces and their minions are not only after our life force energy but also our sexual energy. This is why sexual symbolism is everywhere, especially in television commercials. They are using the commerce system to steal our sexual energy and turn us into the horse of Babylon. In the stock market, the process of selling stocks is also known as stock trading. The people who trade stocks in the stock market are known as traders and therefore are traders of humanity. Why is that, you may ask? Because phonetically the word trader sounds very similar to the word trader. A trader of stocks is a trader of humanity, because he or she is participating in the financial game to steal humanity's energy and enslave the human race. The word trader means dealer, trafficker, one engaged in commerce. The word trader can also mean a ship used in trade, especially foreign trade. As for the word traitor, it means a person who betrays another, a cause, or any trust, or a person who commits treason by betraying his or her country. The definitions in the previous paragraph show the connection among the words ship, water, and commerce. Remember, it is all about tricking us to agree to allow the dark forces to steal our energy using commerce, maritime law the law of merchant, and Admiralty law the law of the sea. Why the sea? Because the sea is mostly made of water and water carries the current, currency, current chi. Furthermore, our bodies are also mostly made of water, which is the water that contains our life force energy. When you participate in their debt-based commerce system, you are in a sense committing treason against humanity. If you want strong evidence of this, study how the debt-based monetary system and the stock market screw people over and over again with fraudulent debt. These two financial systems are based on greed and competition, which are great for manifesting negative emotions, violence, and wars. For someone to make millions of dollars in the stock market, hundreds and possibly thousands of people have to lose a lot of money in that market. Did that single person work 1,000,000 times harder than the rest of the people to earn that much money? What that person did was treason against the Supreme Creator, because he sold people's soul energy to the dark forces, so that he could become a millionaire. People who make money from the stock market and other similar systems are helping the dark magicians to enslave the people of the world and preventing poor countries from thriving. The people living in these countries are not poor because they are dumb or lazy. In fact, many of them are very intelligent and work a lot harder than people living in rich countries. The truth is that people living in poor countries lack wealth, because it has been engineered that way by the dark magicians and their international bankers who control the global central banks. The international bankers can prevent poor countries from thriving by charging them high interest rates and not giving them enough funds to invest in economic development projects. One of the purposes for preventing poor countries from rising above poverty is that it makes it easier for the dark magicians to exploit the poor countries of their wealth and natural resources. By doing this, they can give some of that wealth to the rich countries, allowing them to trick the people of rich countries to think that they are better than the people of poor countries. In reality, Most people living in rich countries are delusional for the reason that they are so brainwashed that they can barely think for themselves. People living in developed countries often like to invest in the stock market. What they do not realize is that the stock market is a system that does not flow well with the laws of nature. Every time people participate in the stock market, they unknowingly support the evil deed of selling human souls, because the word sold sounds similar to sold. At the deeper level, the stock market is the commerce system that sells or trades our soul energy, which is why it is called a stock market. Many of the stocks in the stock market do not really represent the shares of corporations. Instead, they are linked to the artificial persons of the living men. The main reason why corporate stocks have value is because they are linked to human beings. In other words, we are the livestock or living stock that are sold in the stock market by the traders of humanity. The word stock is defined as a quantity of something accumulated, as for future use. As for the word livestock, it is defined as the horses, cattle, sheep, and other useful animals kept or raised on a farm or ranch. The dark magicians consider us human beings as sheep, which is why Christians are called sheep. We are the sheeple living on a farm called Earth, which is a prison planet for domesticating human beings to be good little slaves. To be more specific, we are the baby raised on a farm to produce honey or golden blood plasma for the dark forces, so that they can use it to extend their lifespan. In certain ways, most human beings are not that much different from horses, cattle, and sheep, because they have been domesticated by the dark magicians of the New World Order to obey their authorities and government. This is why when you talk to people about the New World Order and government conspiracy, most of them look at you like you are crazy. Some of them may even physically attack you for telling them the truth. What a bunch of sheeple and domesticated animals. The sheeple are so brainwashed they cannot see that they are being domesticated to behave like sheep and sold on the stock market. To make matters worse, their soul energy is being stocked in the stock market to be sucked out later by the demons or energy vampires of the dark forces. This is why one of the definitions of the word stock is a quantity of something accumulated, as for future use. One of the origins of the word stock is derived from the Old French word stock, meaning stump, post, stake, tree trunk, log. The word trunk originated from the Old French word tronc, meaning trunk of a tree, trunk of the human body, wooden block. In English, one of the definitions of the word trunk is the body of a person or an animal excluding the head and limbs, torso. It can also mean the main channel, artery, or line in a river, railroad, highway, canal, or other tributary system. The occult definitions in the previous paragraph reveal the relation among the stock market, the human body, and water. In other words, your body is being sold on the stock market for currency, current kai, the currency that represents your time and energy. Do you remember what I said in chapter 3 about how the birth certificate bond is a financial contract created to enslave your body and soul, so that they can use you as collateral for the debt of the government? I also told you that your birth certificate is being traded on the stock market because it is a bond, which is why your birth information is recorded on bond paper, the paper used to create the birth certificate. In other words, your birth certificate is a registered security or a stock certificate. Do you now understand why human beings are the livestock or living stock of the stock market? When you sell or trade stocks, what you are really doing is selling other people's soul energy, and therefore are treating people like slaves in the religious game of death known as commerce. Be aware that I am not saying you should not trade goods and services with other people. What I am saying is that you should avoid using the debt-based monetary system, the stock market, and other vampiric financial systems to trade energy. These vampiric systems were created for the purpose of destroying nature and enslaving souls to be used as batteries. Commerce is not the same as the process of living people trading goods and services. Commerce deals with the charging of the dead, whereas when living people trade goods and services, they are mutually exchanging their energy with one another. When two people mutually exchange goods and services, there is no vampiric system to steal their living energy. Another popular vampiric system that is part of the commerce system is the mortgage industry. A mortgage is one of the most parasitic debts you can get from a bank. To comprehend how parasitic and vampiric a mortgage is, you need to dig deep into the hidden layers of the word mortgage, so that you can find its occult meanings. The overt definition of the word mortgage is a conveyance of an interest in property as security for the repayment of money borrowed. Another definition of the word mortgage is the charging of real or personal property by a debtor to a creditor as security for a debt, especially one incurred by the purchase of the property, on the condition that it shall be returned on payment of the debt within a certain period. The two definitions of the word mortgage in the previous paragraph only define mortgage at the surface level. To find its deeper meanings, you need to use an etymology dictionary to find the origins of the word mortgage and split it into two words, so that it transforms into the term mortgage. The word mortgage originated from two Old French words, which are mort and gage. In Old French, mort means dead and gage means pledge. The word pledge is derived from the Old French word pledgier, meaning to promise or to solemnly promise or guarantee. One of the modern definitions of the word pledge is a solemn promise or agreement to do or refrain from doing something. To connect the dots, when you take out a mortgage, you unknowingly make a pledge promise to the dead. This is the general occult definition of the word mortgage. So, what is the dead? The dead represents the dark forces groups of demons and their corporations, corpses, or dead bodies. The word corporation has a strong connection to the dead because its deeper meaning is a dead body. The word corporation can also be written as corp. Phonetically, the root word corp sounds similar to the word corpse, which is defined as a dead body, usually of a human being. Do you still need more evidence? According to Black's Law Dictionary 6th edition, a corporation is an artificial person or legal entity created by or under the authority of the laws of a state. An artificial person is considered a dead entity because it does not exist in the real world. The word mortgage also has a strong connection to the words morgue and mortuary. This is why the place where dead bodies are stored is called a morgue. Mortgages are created in a way that makes them hard to pay off, so that the people who sign a mortgage, a pledge to the dead contract, have to work most of their lives to pay it off. This allows the debt-based monetary system to drain their energy and use it to charge the dead with currency. The currency that people make from many hours of working at a corporation dead body. Do you remember what I said earlier about why currency is a medium for exchanging or transferring life force energy? At the spiritual level, people who sign a mortgage are basically signing their lives away to the dead. They are also making a promise to the dead to charge it with their energy, so that the dead can stay alive. In other words, they are making a solemn pledge to the dead to ensure that the dead will be paid and charged with energy. Phonetically, the word dead sounds similar to the word debt. Furthermore, the word debt has a strong connection to the word mortgage. Every time you pay a mortgage, debt, dead, you commit sin. If you want evidence of this, go to Merriam-Webster.com and search for the definition of debt, and you should see the word sin as one of its definitions. The word sin originated from the Old English word sin, meaning moral wrongdoing, injury, mischief, enmity, feud, guilt, crime, offense against God, misdeed. The reason why you commit sin when you pay a debt is because you are helping the dark forces to enslave the human race. The debt system is controlled by the dark forces, and they are using it to drain the energy of humanity and harm nature, which are against natural law, God's law. Maybe this is why the Bible verse Romans 6:23 says, "For the wages of sin is death." Sin is debt, dead, death. If you want to understand the sin of debt a little deeper, you need to know how the words mortgage, debt, dead, and battery are all related to the dollar, which is also known as legal tender. According to the 1893 Dictionary of Arts and Sciences and General Literature, the R.S. Peale 9th Encyclopedia Britannica, the word legal means the undoing of God's law. The legal system practices unnatural laws, and therefore it is practicing the color of law or the appearance of law. In other words, it is an artificial system or a debt system, which is why it needs your currency, current chi, to charge it with energy. The words sin, mortgage, debt, dead, and charge are all related to the dollar, because the dollar is legal tender or dead money. What do people do with some of their legal tender? They bury it in the banks. What you need to know about the word bank is that it is related to the word currency. Furthermore, both of these words are related to the word river. Do you remember what I said earlier about the relation between the words river and bank? What does a river have on both of its sides to prevent water from flowing out? Riverbanks. Corporate banks are like rivers because they regulate currency. In other words, they regulate the flow of energy, just like how riverbanks regulate the flow of the energy of water. Banks need to regulate the flow of energy because they need to keep track of the current chi flow of energy to charge the debt. This is why when the debt is not paid, the banks may send a loan shark after people who refuse to pay the debt. They did not use the term loan shark for no reason. It is all about water and energy, because water carries the current chi. which is needed to charge the dead debt. By now you should know how the words sin, legal, stock, mortgage, debt, dead, currency, corporation, banks, riverbanks, commerce, battery, and charge are all related to the process of harnessing the energy of humanity. The Earth Matrix drama is all about tricking humanity to consent to be a battery, so that the dark forces and their minions can drain our life force energy to charge their dead matrix system. What banks do not tell you about mortgages and loans. Today, local banks do not actually lend out lawful money, but instead lend out notes or checks that are backed by a promise to pay. Before lending out these notes or checks, the borrower has to sign documents that have terms and conditions written on them along with a price tag, the amount of money the borrower agrees to pay back. A more specific name for these documents is negotiable contracts, loan agreements, or promissory notes. After you sign a loan agreement contract with a bank, it legally binds you to the terms and conditions of that agreement. What banks do not tell you is that when you sign a loan agreement or promissory note, you give value to that note for the reason that it is backed by your promise to pay. One thing you need to know about a valid agreement contract is that it is a mutual agreement. A mutual agreement cannot be truly valid without full disclosure. Today, nearly all bank loan agreements are not truly mutual agreements because they do not come with full disclosure. In other words, they are fraudulent agreements and therefore have no legal or lawful standing. Another reason why they are fraudulent is because the money that banks give to you as a loan is created out of thin air. After you are approved for a bank loan, e.g. mortgage, the bank requires you to sign a promissory note. After signing it, the bank, not referring to a central bank, deposits your promissory note into its account as money, which is actually your money, and then uses your promissory note to exchange for credits in your transaction account, and thereby creating new money. In other words, you are the creditor, not the debtor, and therefore the bank does not loan you anything. After the transaction, the bank turns around and lends you that same money as a bank loan. Did the bank tell you in advance that it was going to lend you your own money? Did you agree to allow the bank to lend you your own money? If your honest answer is no, then it was not a mutual agreement. What the bank did is fraud because it lent you your own money. By lending you your own money, the bank makes 100% profit every time you pay your monthly payment. If you add the interest rent into the equation, the bank makes more than 100% profit. This is how banks steal your money without your knowledge. If you and I were to do this, they would throw us in jail for a very long time. For evidence of what I just said, read page 6-7 of Modern Money Mechanics by the Federal Reserve Bank of Chicago. On page 6-7, you will find a sentence that says, what they do when they make loans is to accept promissory notes in exchange for credits to the borrower's transaction accounts. When the sentence above refers to they, it is referring to banks. If you have a mortgage or are planning to take out a mortgage, you need to know that you are not the owner of your house. This is because the mortgage contract appoints you as the tenant and not the owner of the house. In other words, you do not hold legal title to the land and the house. A tenant is defined as an individual who occupies or possesses land or premises by way of a grant of an estate of some type, such as in fee, for life, for years, or at will. A person who has the right to temporary use and possession of particular real property, which has been conveyed to that person by a landlord. Another definition of the word tenant is a person who occupies real property owned by another based upon an agreement between the person and the landlord, owner, almost always for rental payments. As a tenant, you do not legally own your house and land. Furthermore, you are required to pay rent, which is the interest of the mortgage, a pledge to the dead. In other words, the interest is the rent. Banks do not tell you this because they want you to think that you are the owner of your house. Once you comprehend how the mortgage industry really works, you will know that there is not that much difference between renting a house and buying a house. After you buy a house, you are also required to pay property tax, which is the rent owed by your landlord to another landlord. As a homeowner, your landlord is the bank and the bank's landlord is the state. The state owns the land by claiming that the land is controlled and owned by them through their land registry. The state can make this claim because people do not rebut it, and therefore it becomes a fact. By now you should know why taking out a mortgage is a sin. Taking out a mortgage is like asking for a death sentence. If you have a mortgage and want to know how to free yourself from it, you need to first know how to defend your natural rights. You also need to learn how the legal system works. You do not need to know everything about the legal system. However, you need to know enough about it, so that you are not afraid to defend yourself against the agents of the legal system. A great website to help you learn how to defend your natural rights is privatease.me. Another great source is to watch some of Dean Clifford's seminars and radio interviews on YouTube. Dean is knowledgeable in trust law and understands how the legal system really works. Trust law, which is similar to contract law, is the highest form of man's law, so by learning how to use it to defend your rights, judges and attorneys will run away from you like scared little kids. Besides these two sources, Curtis Richard Kallenbach.xyz is also another great source of information. Most of us are not aware of the information in this book because we have relied too much on TV for information. The acronym TV stands for television or television. They are telling you a vision to brainwash you. This is why TV shows are called TV programs. They are using TV programs to condition and program your mind so that they can control how you think. It is right in your face and hidden in plain sight. The solutions: turn off the television and remove your consent, and then learn how to defend your natural rights.